Welcome back to Greenland's Farm in the UK, or perhaps I should say to Racetrack Playa in Death Valley in America. And I'll show you why, and this is a very, very interesting thing, because I've been playing FS22 for many years and never ever noticed this. I suspect that no one else has ever noticed this either. Actually, I'll go back to the tractor for a second, just get a bit of height so you can see something. So these are the two fields of wheat that I've just harvested, and I've baled up one, and I'm just about to start baling up the second one. Now the interesting thing, now that I've shown you that bit, is this field here is a bit of an interesting shape, and I'll show you why if I come up here. Okay, so we come on up here, and it's got a little indentation in here. And I can't even remember whether this field goes straight up here or not originally, but anyway, I made it go in here a wee bit, but then had a bit of grass here. Now when I was baling up this field, I remembered that one of the straw bales dropped right in front of these three abandoned trucks here. So there was a straw bale sitting right here, and as you can see, it lands on a bit of an angle, but it was sitting and it wasn't rolling, so that was fine. I finished baling up the field, and I always count my bales so I know that I've collected them all. I knew there were 30 round bales of straw in this field. I then had to go and do something, so I saved my game, I quit, I went off to do what I needed to get done, and then came back later on, reloaded the game, and went to collect my straw bales, which was the next job I had to do. Now I noticed there was no bale of straw in front of these three trucks. I thought, that's odd, because I distinctly remember there being one there, and I thought maybe it rolled down the hill a wee bit and it's now in the hedge there. Now most of the hedges in this game, not quite all of them, but most of them are visual only, so you can walk straight through them. So what I did, I thought that the last bale, the 30th bale, must be in that hedge there somewhere, so I walked all through the hedge like this, thinking, well, as soon as I hit the straw bale it will stop walking, there'll be resistance. But there was no resistance anywhere. So I thought, well, I'll go and pick up all the other bales, I'll worry about it afterwards. But what I was really concerned about, because I had a look in this cow field here, and I couldn't see it anywhere in here, and it hadn't rolled up against one of the fences of the stockyard here and then stopped. So I thought, if it's not in the hedge, and it's not in that field, I wonder if it's rolled all the way down into this field here of sunflowers. And that was a shame if it had, because I've got the crop destruction turned on, and it's July now, and these sunflowers aren't going to be fully grown until October. So if when the straw bales had rolled down into this paddock, if I drove into the paddock now to retrieve it, I would be destroying some of my sunflowers. So the straw bale would have to sit out there in the paddock until October, when I came to harvest the sunflowers, and then I could collect my last straw bale then. But I thought, well, in the meantime I'll collect all the other straw bales in the field here. And when I went to collect them all, there were 30 there. Now there's no way the one that was up here in front of these trucks, it was facing straight down towards the just right up here, okay, because when I dropped it I was coming down from the top of the field there, down like this. I dropped it here, I made sure it didn't start rolling before I carried on, so I knew it hadn't started rolling, but it might have started rolling later of course. But the way it was sitting, it was straight on, so if it was going to roll, it would have rolled straight down to this hedge, and that's why I assumed that's where it was. It couldn't have gone anywhere else in the field, there's no way it could have. But as I said, there were 30 bales in this field, including the one that was dumped right in front of these trucks, and when I came back into my game save, there was no bale in front of these trucks, but when I collected all the bales in this field, there were 30 still. So I'm not sure whether it's this map or whether it's all of Farming Simulator, and I've never noticed before, and why would you notice this? But I think the way the game's working it is, if you've got bales out in the field, when you save, it remembers in the XML file how many bales there were in that field. In this case there were 30, and when you go and reload the game again later, it just randomly puts 30 bales in the field. It knows it's meant to be 30, that's what the XML will tell it. but it doesn't actually remember where each one is in the field, so it just randomly places them throughout the field. Now, of course, when we're talking about 30 bales in a field, you're not going to remember the exact position of each one. So if all of them were randomly set up in the field again later, in different positions within the field, but they're all still there, you're very, very unlikely to notice. And the only reason I noticed is because I clearly distinctly remember one dropping right in front of those truck wrecks there. So what I'm going to do is when I bale up this field, I'm going to very, very clearly remember where 2 or 3 of the bales are. Then, after I've finished baling the field, before I pick them up, I'm going to save the game, I'm going to quit the game and go out of it, then I'm going to go back in and see if any of the bales are exactly where I left them or whether they've all moved. It's kind of like the rocks in Racetrack Playa in Death Valley in America. That's the desert where the rocks seemingly move. So I seem to have straw bales that have come from the same place. Now, if indeed all the bales in this field that I remember, I mean, there's no way I can remember this field. I think I'll just have a look. I think this field's actually even bigger. Yes, so this field here that I'm in right now, 77, is even bigger than field 76. So if field 76 gave me 30 bales, field 77 is probably going to give me about 40. And there's no way I'm going to be able to remember exactly where 40 bales are placed. If I can remember where 3 or 4, maybe 5 even, are exactly, like if they're near lamp posts or near the edge of the field, if I just remember where those ones are, if all of those bales have moved when I come back in, then I'm going to draw the conclusion that the XML is just remembering the number of bales in the field and not the exact position of each one within the field. And when you reload the game, it's just randomly putting that same number of bales back in the field ready for you to collect. And if that is the case, then I'm going to go and try the same experiment in some other maps and see if that's just the way that Farming Simulator is programmed up. So it doesn't actually remember the exact spot of each bale. But like I said, I'm really not certain, because I know when you've got bales stacked in a shed, it seems to remember the exact spot of where they all are and the number you've got there. But yeah, it just doesn't seem to when they're in the field. So I think that is really, really curious. Yeah, talking about things moving too. Here in New Zealand, daylight saving has just started, and this weekend has been. So all our clocks went forward 1 hour. Now, I know that one of the possible beliefs now, and it's, no one can even know for certain, but when it comes to Stonehenge, one of the beliefs that some people hold is that perhaps it was some kind of a timekeeping mechanism where, similar to like a sundial, they would look at the way the shadows were cast by the rocks of Stonehenge, and so it was used as some sort of a I mean, I know that one of the things they believe it could have been was some kind of a temple for druid worship type thing, but there's also there's also a belief that it might have been some sort of a timekeeping device, and because daylight saving has just started in New Zealand, I saw a very, very funny cartoon that sort of appealed to my farming bone. I think was telling me that it's a farmer, which is only the online part, of course. But I had a picture of an old Land Rover and a bunch of farmers out there in the gumboots and hats and all that, and they had a rock on the back of the Land Rover that looked like one of the rocks in Stonehenge. And it said, a very busy night last night, moving all the rocks ahead 1 hour. I thought that was rather amusing, so I thought I'd share that with you all. Now, see, so that field there, see, what I've discovered is that when bales are on slopes like that, if you make sure that they stop before you carry on, then they generally stay stopped. So, but they act almost lifelike in a way that once they start moving, they pick up speed and momentum quite well, and they'll move a very long way. And one of the easiest ways to make sure a bale doesn't move is make sure when you drop the bale out of the baler like this, your baler is absolutely parked still. Okay? If you drop a bale this goes for both this kind of baler and the ones that do the auto wrapping as well. If the baler is moving slightly as you drop the bale, the bale is almost always going to go rolling. But if you keep it quite still, then sometimes it will roll into the back of the baler as you drop it, sort of thing, if it's still on a steep hill. And if you move forward slowly like this, you'll find a patch of the ground where it's happy to sit, and once it stopped moving, you can drive away and you're almost certain it's not going to start rolling. It's never a 100% thing in this, but you're almost certain it won't start rolling as long as A, you're perfectly still when you drop the bale, and B, if the bale does start rolling into your baler, just, as I said, move slowly forward like that, so the bale just doesn't pick up any speed, and it will find a nice little spot of the field that it's quite happy to stop rolling at and just sit there. And then as long as you don't go along and bump it with another vehicle or something, then it's extremely unlikely that bale will start rolling afterwards. Okay, now you can see here, this is one of the spots just ahead of us where I filled my harvester and had to empty it. So there's a big dump of straw just ahead of me there, and then a big gap where there's no straw. So where's a big dump like that? I'm never going to be able to pick it all up in one thing. Now, I have seen people before use the rakes like you have for doing the grass. So when you mow the grass and you rake all of the lines like this, rake or windrow, whatever word you want to use, you windrow them all together, so that when you go to pick it up with the baler, you haven't got so many lines to do. I have seen people use those same rakes or windrowers on the straw like this. I know it does work, but I don't know, it kind of almost feels like cheating to me to windrow the straw up before baling it. So I don't know why, but for whatever reason I choose not to windrow the straw. I do windrow grass before I bale it all up. Oh, it screwed me. There we go. No, that's it. So as you can see, the bale stopped moving, so now I can move away safely, knowing that it's not going to start. It's only if you don't wait for the bales to stop first that you end up in a lot of trouble, because, as I said, once they start picking up speed, there's real momentum there. So yeah, I've just gone into the habit of... Oh, missed two spots there. I get quite paranoid about that sort of thing. In the same way that I don't like missing a bit of crop when I'm harvesting, and if I miss a blade, I think I'll back up to get it again. I don't like to leave bits of the windrow here not picked up either. Although I have got the boom mod, because when I mow the lawns and around the house, obviously you don't want to be chucking a baler into that little area around the house, sort of thing. So I use the boom to sweep up the lawn clippings. So I know that does work on the straw like this as well. So I could get out of my tractor and use my boom, which the boom is like the chainsaw. You always have it on you, and when you're not in a tractor, you can turn the wheel of the mouse to grab the boom. The same way you can grab a chainsaw that way if you own a chainsaw. And yeah, the boom I can just sweep up. So if I didn't want these bales at all, in theory I can run around the paddock with the boom, sweeping them all up, and it would work, but it would take a wee while to do. And in this particular case I do want the straw, which is why I was growing the wheat in the first place. So I need the straw for bedding for my cows. I have bedding in the milking shed, and I have bedding in the calving shed. So there's two sheds I need straw for. Obviously all the cows that are out in the open paddocks outside don't need straw, but yeah, there's two different lots of cows that do on this farm. So I've probably collected enough straw from that last paddock where I got 30 bales, and I still had about 8 left I think, so I've now got around 38 bales of straw, and that's probably enough to keep me going until the next time I do a harvest of wheat. So the bales in this field, I might just end up selling. See that one on my left right now, it's right up against the grass like that. That one, I'll definitely be able to remember the location of it to see if that moves or not when I finish baling up the field and I quit, save and quit, and then come back into the game. I did have that. There's a mod called Round Baler Extension, and what it does is you're getting to almost 100% full on the baler, it slows the tractor down, then it actually applies the brake when you get to 100%, so you can't accidentally. I'll show you what I mean when I fill it up this time. So as you're driving along here, it does have a little beep to warn you the baler's getting full. It's very, very hard to hear that beep, especially when I'm chatting like this on a video, but it can be quite hard to hear anyway. So you end up overfilling the baler here, and then just driving on like that and having to back up. And there is a mod you can download which automatically stops the tractor and basically applies the brakes once it's full. And I did use that mod for quite some time. The problem with that mod is if the baler gets full somewhere where you don't want to dump a bale, so somewhere where there's a very, very steep part of the hillside, you'd rather move the tractor somewhere else before releasing the bale from the baler. Well, the only way to release the brakes on the tractor when you've got that mod installed is to actually turn the baler off. And it's such a hassle to turn the baler off to be able to move it to, because sometimes it might be just a, let's say it was full now, instead of dumping it right here, I might want to just back it up onto this angle and then dump it if we're on a hill, a fairly steep bit of hill, and having to turn the baler off all the time in order to be able to move it slightly to dump the bale is, it can get quite annoying, and in my opinion probably more annoying than having to back up slightly because you carried on after the baler was full. So yeah, it was a good mod, but that's why I got rid of it, because it was just, I'd like it if instead of having to turn the baler off to, well, that baler hasn't stopped moving yet, still going very slowly though. If I start to pick up speed, no, that stopped, so we're all good. Yeah, if it started picking up speed I would have brought the tractor and baler around and blocked it using the tractor and baler there. But yeah, so if that mod, instead of having it so you had to turn the baler off to be able to move it once it was filled and automatically stopped, if you just had to step off the gas then back on, so you're still very, very deliberately moving, and it's not an accidental thing of, oops, I've gone too far after filling the baler, I would still have that mod downloaded now. But the fact that it worked by forcing you to turn the baler off to be able to move it once it was full, it just got a wee bit annoying for me. Yeah, so I'll finish baling this field off camera, but yeah, I just thought I'd share with you about my straw bales of Death Valley, as I've nicknamed them now. Okay, thanks all, bye.